I'm Corinne, 29, a senior manager, and yeah, my LinkedIn says girl boss and has a post about shattering glass ceilings for every day of the week. My group chat? We used to call it the war room. It was where we'd dissect every man who had the audacity to cross our path and breathe. It was a safe space for rage. We'd go to brunch. Bottomless mimosas and a bottomless well of complaints about men being emotionally unavailable, commitment phobes, or just generally pathetic. We thought we were thriving. We were independent. We were successful. We had our cats and our designer handbags and our empty apartments that we called sanctuaries. We were winning, or at least, that's what we told ourselves. That was before Owen. He was a product of the dating app hellscape I used to ridicule. His profile was bland. No upsy, no boats, no unleash your inner alpha nonsense. Just a picture of him laughing at a dog park, and some bio about being a software engineer, hiking, and his love for good coffee. My old self, the one with the unleash the radical feminine tattoo, would have swiped left, so fast my thumb would have gotten whiplash. My group chat would have had a field day, product of patriarchy. I would have captioned him. But I was tired. A kind of tired that seeps into your bones and makes you question every angry meme you've ever shared. I messaged him first. Just, hey. He was normal. The most terrifyingly normal person I had ever met. He listened when I talked about my job without trying to mansplain my own industry. He asked genuine questions about my stupid TV show conspiracies. He didn't try to impress me with his salary or his life goals. He just was. I hadn't realized how much energy I had been spending on being a challenge for men, on being this formidable, unapproachable fortress. With Owen, I could just be no performance, no armor. A few months into it, I found myself doing things I would have publicly shamed other women for. I started cooking for him, not because he asked, but because I wanted to. I baked a banana bread one Sunday afternoon. A banana bread. For God's sake! The irony was so thick I could have sliced it and served it with the bread itself. I used to joke about how women who cooked for their men were just trading their soul for a ring. Owen just smiled. You didn't have to do that, he said, and the genuine appreciation in his eyes made my chest feel soft. It felt good. I started wearing less makeup, softer clothes. My muscles, which I hadn't realized were constantly tensed, began to relax. I felt peaceful. My group chat noticed my absence. The constant notifications of rage and resentment were starting to feel like static. A few weeks ago, we met for brunch. The same restaurant. The same bottomless mimosas. The same angry, bitter banter. My friend, Savannah, was ranting about a guy on a dating app. He's 5'9". Can you believe it? She said, looking at me for validation. Like, why even try? I told him I only date men who can reach the top shelf for me. He just looked at me like I was insane. The whole table laughed. A tight, empty sound. I just stirred my mimosa. I started to see them for what they were. They wanted a man to cater to them, to rise to their challenges. But they were the challenge. They wanted a traditional provider without the traditional responsibility of being a partner who offered peace and loyalty. They wanted to provide it, but didn't want to offer peace. Owen made me feel safe. He didn't need me to be a boss babe. He just wanted me, the real me. Our relationship was good. For a while. The kind of good that made me feel antsy. It was too easy. Too calm. I wasn't used to it. The old wiring in my brain, the one that saw conflict as a form of connection, was still there, buzzing under the surface. Owen, bless his heart, started getting into therapy. It was a good thing, a healthy thing. He was growing. He was learning how to communicate better, to set boundaries. He'd tell me about his sessions, about his desire to be a more grounded, self-aware person. I'd nod and smile, but inside, I felt a flicker of resentment. He was changing. He was getting better. And I was the same old Corinne who used tears to end an argument when I was losing, who would make a snide comment disguised as a joke and then call him too sensitive when he reacted. The same old me who kept a mental scorecard of all his minor mistakes and none of my own. He started setting boundaries. I'm not going to have this conversation when you're shouting at me, he'd say calmly. We can talk about this when you're ready to listen. My blood would run hot with indignation. He was treating me like a child. He was trying to change me. One night, he told me that he felt like he was constantly walking on eggshells around me, that he was always waiting for the next mood swing. I looked at him, my eyes welling up with strategic tears. I can't believe you would say that to me, I whispered. The classic weapon of deflection. After everything I do for you. He just looked at me, a deep sadness in his eyes. He didn't fall for it. He held his ground. This was when the sabotage started. I'd feel this little, evil thrill every time I saw a flicker of doubt or pain on his face. I'd start subtly criticizing him, comparing him to other people's partners. My friend Savannah's boyfriend just got her a vintage watch. I'd say casually, knowing his new tech startup was struggling to get off the ground. He's just so thoughtful. I'd use my knowledge of his deepest insecurities, the ones he had so vulnerably shared with me, against him. When he'd try to talk about his work, about the new partnership his company was trying to secure, I'd make a joke about how cute it was that he was trying to be an entrepreneur. I knew how much it meant to him. Then came the bigger plays. His business was in the final stages of a major investment deal, something that could change everything for him. He was excited, terrified, and working his ass off. I, on the other hand, felt a familiar pull towards the destructive. One night, I had dinner with a former colleague. A woman I knew was a cutthroat competitor. She was a gossip. Over drinks, I casually mentioned Owen's big deal and how I was worried about the new business partner. I've heard he can be a little shady, not great with money. You know. Hope Owen knows what he's getting into. It was a seed of doubt, planted just right. It was a lie, but it was believable enough. The woman's eyes lit up. I knew what I was doing. I was setting him up. I wanted to see him struggle. I wanted to prove to myself that he needed me, that his success was dependent on my approval. I wanted him to fail, so he would come running back to me. The same old broken boy who needed my emotional labor and validation to survive. A week later, his deal fell through. He came home, his face pale and defeated. He had no idea what happened. The partner had pulled out at the last minute with no explanation. Owen was crushed. He had lost months of work, and his company was back to square one. I held him and told him everything would be okay. I played the doting, supportive girlfriend. Inside, a triumphant little monster was doing a victory dance. It felt empowering. I had control. I had won, but I hadn't won. He started pulling away, not with anger, but with a quiet, devastating finality. He stopped talking to me about his work. He stopped asking me for my opinions. He just existed. He was a ghost in his own life. The emotional exhaustion was etched into his face. One Tuesday evening, he came home from a long day, put his keys on the counter, and just looked at me. I can't do this anymore. Corinne, he said. His voice was soft, but the words were a physical blow. I started to cry, the real, ugly kind this time. What did I do? I pleaded, a lie already on my lips. I've been so supportive. He didn't yell. He didn't get angry. He didn't even raise his voice. He just stood there and calmly said, "You didn't do anything. That's the problem. You made me feel like I had to earn your affection. You weaponized your insecurities and my hopes. I can't grow with you here. I can't be healthy. I'm leaving." And that was it. He took a few things, his laptop, a box of his books, not a duffel bag, not a big fight. He just walked out the door and never came back. My world shattered, but not in a tragic, romantic way. It shattered in a pathetic, lonely way. I texted my group chat, and they all came to my apartment with wine and pizza. Men are trash, Savannah said, echoing a sentiment I used to live by. He couldn't handle a strong woman. He was intimidated by your success. The words tasted like ash. I knew, with a horrible, sinking certainty, that wasn't it. He hadn't been intimidated. He had been exhausted. He had been driven away. My war room was a bunker of delusion, and for the first time, I felt trapped inside it. The fallout was slow, and then, sudden, like a landslide. A few weeks later, I got a message from my old colleague. She was forwarding an email chain. It was my casual conversation about Owen's business partner, copied and sent to my direct supervisor and the head of HR at my company. The email contained our entire conversation, edited to make me sound like a malicious gossip who was trying to sabotage a business rival. The shady partner. He was a well-respected figure in a completely different sector. I had just made the name up. My colleague had used my own lie to frame me as a toxic, unprofessional liability. The email ended with a simple statement: Corinne has a pattern of unprofessional behavior and has shown a willingness to manipulate and lie to damage others' reputations. She is a risk to this company's reputation. I was called into the office the next day. I was fired. The girl boss persona I had so carefully curated, the one that defined my entire existence, was gone. Just like that. The email had gone viral within my industry. Every contact I had, every connection, was now a dead end. My reputation was obliterated. I was unemployable. I started getting texts from my friends, but they weren't about support. They were about how Savannah heard I was difficult to work with. Another friend asked if it was true I had been spreading rumors about Owen's business. I looked at their names on my screen, their little profile pictures, and felt nothing but contempt. They were all fake. They were all just waiting for me to fail. The pity in their messages was a knife twisting in my gut. I stopped responding. I was alone. I tried to apply for jobs, but the whispers had already spread. My industry was small. I couldn't get an interview. My savings, which I had kept separate and guarded fiercely, started to dwindle. I was stuck in the apartment I had been so proud of, surrounded by the remnants of a life that no longer existed. Every morning, I would wake up and feel a familiar knot of rage in my chest. It wasn't the righteous anger of a feminist fighting the good fight. It was the bitter, hollow fury of a woman who had lost everything. I saw Owen on a different social media platform the other day. It was a post from a friend of his. He was smiling, genuinely smiling, sitting at a table with the same girl from his dog park profile picture. The woman from his bio who also loved hiking and good coffee. She was laughing, looking at him with an honest, adoring expression that I knew I had never been able to give him. They looked peaceful. He had found his tribe. He had found someone who didn't want to play games. The comment section was full of people congratulating him on his new job. Apparently, he'd gotten a new investor after all. The rage that surged through me was a cold, pure fire. It wasn't my fault. It was him. He had been too weak to handle my power. It was my old colleague, who had betrayed me. It was my friends, who were all jealous. It was the world, which hated strong women. I sat on my couch, in my shiny, empty apartment in Dallas, and I felt nothing but a deep, profound sense of injustice. I didn't regret my actions. I regretted that I was the one who was left with nothing. I wasn't just losing. I was losing because everyone else had cheated. They had won, and I was left here. A girl boss with no job, no friends, no partner, and a universe that had decided I was the villain of my own story. They all owed me. I deserved better. And I would never, ever let them forget it.